Welcome back to Final Fantasy Ultra Champion Edition. Once again, I apologize for music added in post. My capture software is still giving me some problems with this particular game. I am sorry about that. Today we are going to be taking on the Holy Shrine, which is located near where the old Castle of Ordeals is. And it's definitely a reference to the old Castle of Ordeals in that it is a pretty tricky warp tile puzzle. What you'll see here today was the result of me double-checking the walkthrough video series that is linked in the description of this video, done by the author of this patch, so I would highly recommend anybody looking to play this game, do check that walkthrough. I poked around in here and explored a little bit, fought some of the enemies before I turned the recorder on, and to make a nice smooth run here for the Let's Play series, I did do some video checking there with the walkthrough, because this is a pretty tricky maze. Rather than subject everybody to an hour or more of me poking around this one, trying to find my way through, I decided to make it look nice and smooth. And it easily could have been an hour as we fight a sacred here, as we fight a sacred bull, reference to some enemies that we will see pop up in later Final Fantasy installments. Final Fantasy VIII has the Minotaur brothers, and I think this could also be a reference to maybe the Minotauros that you fight in Final Fantasy V, who gives you the holy magic when you fight him, who protects the holy magic. So Minotaurs often aligned with the holy element in the Final Fantasy series, so it's very cool to see that continue. But anyway, the pillar warp tile puzzle is pretty tricky, so this very easily could be a long video. And not that wouldn't be interesting to watch somebody blindly finding his or her way through this tricky dungeon, but I decided to poke around on it off camera, off stream, off record, and go through it here. So we've got priests and wizards, which kind of reference the old fighter and mage from the vanilla version. At this point, a lot of these battles, especially on a crawl, aren't really worth fighting. So I'm running from a lot of these ones in here. This particular battle with 3 holy elementals, I will go ahead and fight, just so we can demonstrate kind of what the holy elementals are and how hard they hit. Like most elementals in Final Fantasy games, generally these guys just pound you with physical attacks, and holy elementals are no different in this particular patch. So luckily they focus a little bit on Esper up there, but you see they have pretty decent defense themselves. Sola's not able to get through their defense very easily. Here's a Shield 2 spell, boosts your defense. And again, if you want to learn more about the algorithms of this game, or the numbers of this game, I would recommend checking out that walkthrough video series, because that's the only place that I have seen for this particular patch some of the a look behind the curtain of this patch in terms of how much, for example, how much defense the Shield 2 and Shield 3 spells boost your characters. That's not available in the README guide currently, that as of this recording that I have seen. So if you are looking for things like that, that walkthrough series is a place to have it. And you see the soft spell there has taken out a couple of those elementals. So the soft spell that the author of this patch has, I know, enjoyed watching in this Let's Play series, has been a real lifesaver for me in some of these enemies that have high HP and hit really hard, but are not immune to the poison stone element, or the stone element. I'm not sure if the elements have been changed in this game. I believe that there's a darkness and a holy element, so I assume that they have. I'm not sure which elements in the game have been changed to which, but the soft spell is a really, really nice one. Much more powerful than it is in the vanilla version. It seems to be a lot more accurate, maybe, than the break spell. It's of a lower level, so I have more charges of it. It lands on the white magic side, because it's the same as the stone healing spell. So rather than waste a black magic spell charge with it, I can use my white mage to cast it, or should say my cleric. So it's a really, really nice one in this patch, or at least in the version that I have. Future versions, it may be changed after seeing how much I've been able to, I wouldn't say abuse it. Because it is an instant death spell that you have access to. You do get earlier access to it maybe than you would want, and you get a lot of charges of it, which is nice. And it seems to be more accurate than a lot of instant death spells in the Final Fantasy series. But in a tough patch like this, boy, I would say anything that empowers your characters is A-okay by me. In a tricky ROM hack like this, anything that can make your characters a little bit more powerful is pretty good. Especially your mages in the late game. Talking with the author of this patch, that's something that is that is common with the Final Fantasy series, that mages kind of become a little less powerful in the late game. It's just kind of a natural result of the progression of things, and it's all well and good. It all works out in the end. Your fighters start a little bit, or your physical attackers start a little bit on the weaker side, where your mages can do a bunch of damage with their magic attacks, and then they kind of fade just a little bit as you go through, and then most of their utility is in buffing your fighters with things like haste and temper, and some protection spells, although their damage spells are nothing to laugh about. I've gone with my Sage. I've kind of chosen area of attack black magic damage. There are more single target spells in the black magic retinue that can deal a lot more damage probably than something like, say, Medio, but I chose to have my Sage be my random battle grinding buddy. So my Sage is helping deal big damage to groups of enemies, and these holy elementals I'm just going to run from. There's the Holy Ring. I did pick up the Karna armor before. That's the top armor in the game, and you can see I made a menuing error here. I made a slight, not a slight error, a pretty significant error in that I got rid of my Opal mail without realizing that I had not changed my Cleric's mail to Opal mail. So I dropped it after I picked up the Dragon mail, or the Dragon plate. I'm not sure what that symbol is supposed to be, mail or plate maybe. It's not the armor, it's the medium class armor. So a significant error on my part there, not noticing that I had not upgraded or traded down the Opal to my Cleric, who could have significantly better defense than the Cleric does right now. But that's okay. So here is 3 Holies in a random battle. We have not seen that yet. So far we've seen the Holies protecting a couple of chests, 2 significant chests in this game. But we have not seen Holies pop up as a random battle, so thankfully they are escapable. And I'm on my way to the next warp tile. And interestingly, we get 2 battles in a row of 2 holy enemies. So I don't know if we are just at a curious spot in the encounter table, where we have 2 in a row of battle formation 7 or 8. I'm not sure. I'm only guessing right here. I hear of some empty treasure boxes, and I cannot remember. And the author of the patch may have told me in a previous comment. I can check back on that if the step table has been changed or altered significantly, or how that works. But basically, in this game, there are 8 different battle formations you can run into. This is a trap square with holies. There are 8 different battle formations you can run into in every area of encounters, and there is a fixed table. After a fixed number of steps, you will get into encounter number X, and encounter number X is defined in each area. So like in the first area, encounter number, most of the encounters involve just imps and such, but some of the encounters involve mad ponies, but those ones are a little bit more rare than groups of imps. So that's why if you fight around that Corneria Castle for a long time, eventually you'll run into mad ponies. That's because they are on the higher number. They're numbered 1 through 8 or 0 through 7. I can't remember if it's 1 through 8 or 0 through 7. Anyway, you encounter them much less frequently. Same thing when you're looking for Warmechs on that top floor. There's the heal staff, by the way, pretty significant pickup. The rest of these are empty. But if you're hunting for Warmech is in battle formation number 7 on that bridge area before Tiamat. So actually, Warmech isn't even the most rare encounter you can run into on that area. A lot of people don't know that. You have I think it's a 3 in 64 chance of running into Warmech, but again, it's not a random chance. There are just 3 battles of the 64 battles in the table will result in a Warmech encounter on that. So it's not 3 in 64 rolled randomly every time you get in a battle. It's definitely a fixed progression, and if you know your table, you can tell with 100% accuracy exactly when you're going to find a Warmech. So again, that goes back to those holies there. I don't know if we just hit a curious spot in the encounter table where maybe we had 2 of the less common battle formations in a row. Who knows? So we did get that the heal staff again. These battles again aren't really worth it for me at this point. I could have fought or should have fought a few more of them just to demonstrate some of those. That pillar right there, I believe, is a warp tile out. I saw that on the walkthrough video, but we'll heal up here before we fight the last of our optional dungeon bosses. And I used very little magic coming in here, so I'm pretty much full strength with a bunch of potions to get up there. So here is our holy elemental, Seraph, who is a sprite-swapped, palette-swap of Carrie. Very cool-looking sprite here. Now, I'm taking a different approach with this one because, again, this is I did some checking ahead of time. Seraph does have Cure 4 in his or her spell repertoire. So I'm going to see how it works with me to kind of sandbag up a little bit and let Seraph get through its spell progression a little bit. So here's Haste 2, and Haste 2 will get everybody in Haste status, and this will actually work out pretty well because, surprisingly, the Seraph is vulnerable to a lot of my physical attacks, and the weapons that you pick up for the mages are significantly stronger in this patch than they are in a vanilla version of the game. Your white mage there, or the cleric, is not really stuck with a Thor hammer with just a couple of hits and doing very little damage to high defense enemies at the end of the game. T-Hawk with the Doomhammer is really swinging that thing. And same thing with Zonk there, the Sage. The staves here get significantly stronger, and as I understand that there's even some elemental attachments to some of these weapons, especially some of these late-game weapons. It's not made clear in the game specifically, and I think you're probably supposed to, maybe I'm wrong about this, you're probably supposed to discover them on your own, like maybe you would equip a weapon with the darkness element in this holy shrine and notice, wow, that staff or this sword or this whatever is really, really doing extra damage to these holy enemies. It might have been designed to have been noticed rather than game fact. Could be wrong about that. That's kind of trying to surmise the artist's intent, I suppose. It's a little bit beyond the Let's Player's purview, I think. So I'm going to set up Invis 2. I'm just kind of trying to do my best to take as little damage as possible and have my characters as strong as I can with Temper, and everybody's already hasted, of course. Here's Hex. Hex targets everybody with multiple statuses. And unfortunately, in this game, nothing you can do about it on a ROM hack, I don't think. It only can display one of the statuses that you are currently suffering from at a time. And I believe it prioritizes poison all the time. I think usually when I see multiple statuses, generally seems to prioritize poison, which leads to a couple of slight menuing errors here in that I try to cast the Cleanse spell with a muted character, forgetting that the character had been struck with mute and that had not cleared up on its own, that had not cleared up. So I was not able to make that heal with my cleric. So I know that Cure 4 will restore the status. So I will cast target Cure 4 onto T-Hawk there to get the hit points back up and get that mute and poison status out of the way. And at the very last second, I'm thinking with the Sage, I remember that I looked at Heal 4 seems to also restore status to characters. So this should clear up Sulla as well, and also give us a nice chunk of hit points back. Maybe reset us to the hit points we were at. And as I kind of run out of things to do with my Viking, I noticed that that Viking is really dishing out some major damage. So on a second fight of Seraph, if I were to fight Seraph again, I probably would not wait until Cure Force showed up. Looking at just how much raw damage I can do with my physical fighters, I would maybe just go right on the offensive. But either way, it's nice to see the defensive abilities of this party. Now here's a Pearl spell from Seraph doing major damage to the party. And I'm not sure. I did put the wall spell up. So I'm not sure if that is what that looks like when it's been quartered by the protection granted by the wall spell. I'm guessing that is. I'm guessing that Pearl could do around 500 or 600 maybe to our party without the wall spell on. As you saw there, it was doing between 1 and 200-ish. Here's the Invis Ring, so that's just getting our evasion up. And I want to finally start to see Seraph miss on some of those hits. And here we go. So there's 2 hits for 2 damage on Esper. So Seraph is finally starting to miss on some of those hits. There we see Cure Force show up, and actually it shows up at the perfect time. It shows up as Seraph's first action in the round after I had decided to just go on the offensive. So it actually came up perfectly. I kind of guessed that after Pearl, Cure 4 might be up there. I didn't actually watch all of this battle on the walkthrough series, so I didn't know exactly where Cure 4 was in the progression. But when I saw Pearl show up, I was pretty sure that Cure 4 could not be too far behind. So I just decided to go on the offensive, hoping that maybe Cure 4 would show up. Sure enough, it did, and now, so 1,400 damage there from Sulla, but you can see Sulla can do 2,000-ish damage to some of these late-game bosses. I'm noticing that, by the way, the amount of golden experience has gone up with each of these 4 bonus dungeon bosses from 10,001, 10,002, 10,003, and there you saw Seraph awarded 10,004. So there is the Doom Hammer going down to T-Hawk. I spoke a little bit out of turn there. The Hammer of Justice has just been picked up by Esper, so maybe that has an element attached to it. I'm not sure, but I would make an educated guess that the Justice Hammer has a holy element attached to it. Only a guess there. Doom Hammer may have had a darkness element attached to it. Again, just guessing by the names. But that's going to do it for this dungeon. Again, I would recommend if you want to kind of find out more about this game from the source, do check out that walkthrough series done by the author of the patch. That is linked again, the whole playlist in the bottom of this video. If you did like this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already. Get in touch with me on Twitter or here on the channel. I love to read comments and see what you think, especially if you have any ideas for future ROM hacks that I can run here on this channel. In the meantime, I'm going to get ready for the final dungeon assault, and we will see you next time for that.